my name is Anna, as Samara suggested, and I run a project called Friendly Fridays, which is based on the 5 ways of wellbeing. Um, and I run it with 2 other lovely ladies, Pam Robinson, who's here today, and Becca Cook. I actually get paid to do this job, which is amazing. Well, partly paid, I should say. Some of it's voluntary. So what I want to talk to you today about is about how that happened and the journey that I took. So I also run my own company, which is Digital Annie, which helps local businesses and community groups and charities to make the most out of their Facebook pages. That's either by doing training in one-to-one sessions, or by teaching them how to write better engaging posts, or by doing it for them. So when I started Digital Annie, I had actually just taken a year off after redundancy. I took redundancy from corporate world, where I'd worked for 14 years in the digital arena. And I'd worked for that company because they had an ethical policy, and they wanted to do things in their community. Now I did get the chance to do things. I painted a community room, and I was able to lend my time to a really big food bank, and we even went to Lyme Park and cut some rhododendron bushes back. So there were lots of little things that we could do, but I wanted to do something on a more regular basis. I wanted to teach children to read in a local school, but the corporate world isn't really set up to allow you to do some of those things. So when I set my own business up, I wanted to make sure that I was always working towards doing things in the community. So in the year that I took off, I started, this is my first crochet attempt ever. So I learned to crochet in my first month of redundancy, at the same time as setting up a craft and chat group in a local church, which is where I met Pam. So there was space available at St Mary's on the Marketplace, the church that's behind the market, and they were looking to bring some crafters into that space on a regular basis, and so I was already connected to a few people, so I set that up. That then led to me, sorry, that's not right. That led to me learning to crochet and making more connections in that community, because you often find that crafters are involved in other local charities and other local events. At the same time, I was already volunteering for this local charity called PIP UK, where I built their website, and I was doing a lot of their social media stuff, and I was helping them run events and things like that. So in the year that I took redundancy, and the year that followed redundancy, I attempted to do 2 different things. I attempted to find a way to get a salary for PIP UK, and I also looked at working in the third sector. So I looked at some of the bigger charities like Shelter, and I think it was even one for Barnardo's and one for various other, Oxfam and things like that, various other big charities. But I'd been in business for, well, I had been working for a company for a long time. So the scope of the roles was really wide, for less money in a way. And I just felt that they were asking a bit too much. But I did, through PIP UK, end up working for a charity called DISNet, which is an international charity that works with people who have limb differences, and they were running a campaign to educate people on babies being born with limb differences and how it was okay, and that you could live a normal life. So they had done a lot of research and discovered that there was a correlation between the changes in the way that we can now do the things like 3D scans or 4D scans of babies, and the number of babies born with limb differences. And they also learned that mums to be were being asked to make a termination decision in a very short space of time without get access to information. So the charity asked me if I would lead a project in fundraising through crowdfunding to raise enough money to create a website. So that was what I did, and we raised around 15k in the end. And as a result of that, the charity then asked me to become a board member, which was lovely. So I was already doing quite a few community things. And then in February the following year, I set up a group called Neighbourhood Charity Crafters. With Pam's help, we set it up at St Matthew's Church, and that enabled local crafters to make things for people in the local area. As a result of that, I also started working with Claire Cliff, who's also here today from Home Instead. At the time, Claire was working for a different company, but she wanted me to help her with a roadshow that she was doing. We went out to various different locations, and we were working with the over 50s. So I was doing demonstrations of crochet, and we were talking to them about the things that they wanted to do and how they could connect to community groups in the area. Through working with Pam on some of the community groups, one of the first opportunities that I had to get paid for Digital Annie was with the Olive Cafe. So they were seeking funding to be able to train people for free how to become a barista. So that coffee machine is quite complicated to use, and Starbucks, for example, say that you have to use it for 28 days before they let you loose on it. So you have proper training and stuff. And so the Olive Cafe, of which Pam is a trustee, wanted to be able to give that skill to people who had been out of work, or mums who had had babies and wanted to get back into work, very similar to some of the work that Simone's already done, with women looking to get back into work for whatever reason. So Pam and I, because we'd worked together on a number of different projects, she suggested that we put in, when we put the funding bid in, that we actually put a small amount in for Digital Annie. So that was for me to design the logo, create some social media posts, and to do like a training manual with them. So that was my first kind of taste of being paid. From that, let's not get to that yet. From that, I then worked with Pam on a number of different opportunities. And I designed logos for things, I did small pieces of project work, and each time Pam was able to add me to the funding bid. So I started to realise that Digital Annie didn't necessarily need to fund all of the voluntary or community work that I was doing. There was actually another way to get involved. A few years into running Digital Annie, Pam and I were talking about how we wanted to make some changes in our community. So we could see that there was people just weren't getting on with each other. It's probably the best way to describe it. There were a lot of groups around where you had to be a certain age, or you had to have a certain illness, or you had to be living in a particular area. So it was just, all the groups were not accessible to everyone. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to have something that was open to everyone. And we wanted to make it so it was all age groups in one place. So it was a multi-generational project. And that project was Friendly Fridays. That's how Friendly Fridays was born. Just one second, I can see there's a chat comment. Simone, is it a question for me? Can you have a look? I can't hear you, Simone, you're on mute.
Oh, needed my t-shirt, I'm on mute. No, it's just Claire saying, yeah, barriers to community connections.
Yeah.
I think she was agreeing with your point.
Thank you very much, Claire. Yeah, there was a lot, and Claire's done a lot of work in this area as well. So the idea of Friendly Fridays was pretty much written on, as they say, on the back of a fag packet, and it really was. So we had a general idea that we wanted to create the space and let people utilize that space how they wanted to use it. So Friendly Fridays is set up like a family lounge. There's crafts you can do, there's tabletop games, there's jigsaws, there's a refreshments area where you can help yourself. There's a what we call a cozy corner, which has got like armchairs, which is where some of our older visitors sit and knit and crochet, and we have a kids area, kids soft play area as well, and you just come in and you use the space. In order to get Friendly Fridays off the ground, we needed to get funding. So Pam was insistent, bless her, that we both got paid a percentage of the time that we were doing because we were leading a project. Stockport Local Fund totally agreed with us and gave us some money. Equity Fund also gave us some money. So we started in a good place. We called together all of the local businesses and community leaders to tell them about the projects that we were proposing, and they all signed up to it. Everybody, it was the best meeting I've ever run. Everybody was so positive about it, didn't have a negative word to say about it at all, and lots of people stepped forward to offer their services, one of which was, where is she now? Claire Cliff. So this is Claire Cliff and one of her team members, Karen. So they offered to come and do a lunch club with us once a month, which was amazing. They just stepped up straight away, and they have supported us ever since. They've been fantastic. They, Home Instead, have also gone on to set up friendship cafes of their own. Friendly Fridays has led to other community groups being set up in a similar way. So, and then I'm sure most of you will be aware of the Channel 4 programme that brought nursery children together with the older generation. So multi-generational has become a bit of a thing now, and people definitely see the value in it. So let me just have a look. Also, because of the work that Claire and I do in the community, we connect with other community groups as well. So through Friendly Fridays, I met Simone at a Sector 3 event, and that then opened the doors even further. And there's so many connections that you can make out there. So for me, I wanted to work in the community. I'd worked with international charities and other charities, and for me it wasn't, I was still passionate about the project, but I wanted something that was on the ground, that I could actually see the changes happening and the benefits to the people that I was interacting with. There was like that instant, for me, gratification. It was all about making me feel better, but being able to see the changes to the people that we were working with. So this is Claire and Lynn and myself at Community Centre in Edgeley called York Street. And we've helped support, both of us have helped support them in different ways. Pam is actually the chair of the association. This is us playing a bingo, or a style of bingo with cards. But we also have done some, supported them with afternoon teas and things like that. So it ripples out once you start working with people. I did a lot of stuff voluntary at the start, a lot of stuff, but it was making those connections and understanding what it is that people needed in order to be able to then utilise my skills. A lot of charities and groups paid for my time for one-to-one sessions. There's a company on the A6, or a charity on the A6 called Bubble. It's run by a gentleman, and he was very interested, and he paid for my time to talk to him about how to utilize social media for his community groups and how he might best be able to foster that information. I would say that you need to find what it is that will that makes you want to go and do something? Like, what is your real core? So it took me a long time. I knew that it was charity stuff, but what it was actually community in the end. It was about making a difference in my local community and being able to go home at the end of the night and know that I have definitely made a change to somebody's life. So there are a couple of examples that I want to talk to you about today so that you can share my joy, I think is probably how I would describe it. So this is our VIP. In this photograph, she was 97. Some of you may recognise her because she was actually on the Manchester Evening News and North West Tonight in January, because she celebrated her 100th birthday. Amazing, just amazing. So Dorothy was very skeptical, actually, I have to say, about Friendly Friday. She didn't quite believe that it was going to work, and she'd been around the block a few times, as you can imagine, but she had some doubts. I think she had some doubts. Now she absolutely loves it and tells everybody how amazing it is. So the story that we tell about Dorothy is, as you can see, this beautiful little baby, just only 2 days old. The mum had come to Friendly Fridays during the summer holidays. Well, she was pregnant and completely fallen in love with the idea of Friendly Fridays and the bringing the generations together, and the access to all the resources that we provide. And she'd spent a lot of time talking to Dorothy. So when she gave birth, she was insistent that the first person that should see her newborn baby was Dorothy. So she brought the baby in. 2 days old, Ellie, she was gorgeous, and Dorothy was completely made up, obviously. We actually took this photo and printed it out, and she now has it framed on her table in her house, and she loves it. It's just such a lovely story. And then we've also got this little chap. He's a little bit older now. He's 5 years old. Thomas is his name, and when he came to Friendly Fridays, he was, I think, 2.5 or 3, something like that. And he came during the summer holidays as well. He came with his mom, and he came because his usual toddler group was not open on a Friday. And when the summer holidays finished, his mum thought he would be delighted to go back to his toddler group. So as they were on their way towards the toddler group, they were about to go up the road towards the toddler group, and Friendly Fridays was the other way. And Thomas stuck his arm out, bear in mind he wasn't really speaking at that time, and pointed towards Friendly Fridays and shouted Fridays at the top of his head. So his mum thought, okay, maybe he just wants to go to Friendly Fridays an extra time. So she brought him down, and he came in and played and did all these things. The following week, exactly the same thing happened. And then, bless her, she had a little bit of a problem, because how do you explain to a 3-year-old that Friendly Fridays only happens on a Friday and not every day of the week? So he started to refuse to go to nursery and all sorts of things. It was a bit of a nightmare. But Thomas, we call our #1 fan because he loves Friendly Fridays. Hence, he's got the I Love Friendly Fridays t-shirt. Bless him. He's such a cutie. Then we have a couple of other avenues that have come in. So we always set Friendly Fridays up with the idea that the visitors would become advocates, and they would then potentially lead to volunteers, but at the very least they would start telling everybody about Friendly Fridays. So we had a young lady come in who was incredibly anxious the very first day she arrived. She couldn't utter a word. In fact, she didn't utter a word for the entire day that she was there. She spoke to her support worker only. The second week, we didn't think she'd come back, but she did. And she managed to say hello to myself and Pam. And in the third week, one of the crafters sat with her and got her knitting. She used to knit, but she hadn't done it for years. The fourth week, she came back with her knitting, that she proudly showed to everyone and spoke to us about it, and it just went on from there. So this lady who had very severe anxiety now gets 2 buses to get to Friendly Fridays. She has not only become an advocate, she is now a volunteer, and she is actually training other volunteers how to be a volunteer at Friendly Fridays. So she's another big one of our successes. And the other thing is that Friendly Fridays, I wanted the business community, and this is kind of where Simone and I tie in together. I wanted the business community to be able to come together with this community group and it be a way for businesses to get involved. I wasn't looking for money. It wasn't about sponsorship. It was about giving the opportunity to local business owners to be able to do something for their community. So we offer something called casual volunteers, where they can come in for the day and just sit down and have a cup of tea with someone and maybe play a game or just have a chat. And that's brought lots of local businesses in, because they don't have to sign up to anything. They don't have to be there every week. They can just drop in and out. So that's really helped us. But then obviously through natural conversations and things, they have donated things or they've given time to do other things. So for me, Friendly Fridays is the ultimate goal of what I wanted to do. I created a project with Pam from scratch. It was completely designed and created by us, and it works, and I'm very, very happy about that. So, this is Claire in our lunch club. So yes, so Friendly Fridays is the project that I absolutely love, and I'm still working with PIP UK. In fact, they have actually now started to pay me. They got some funding as well through working with Pam. They managed to secure some funding, so I'm now being paid to do that as well. And all of those things have helped me to turn my passion into a job. Okay, so what I wanted to do now, I'm just going to stop sharing now, Simone. Well, I would if I could work out how to do it. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So what I wanted to do was to open up questions to everyone. And the first question is, have you got a passion that you wanted to turn into a job? Is anybody here willing to share? You need to take your microphones off if you want to, or you can put it in the chat group. Don't all speak at once.
Yeah, I've got a passion.
Hi, Julie.
I'm trained as in art, but then I work with young people. So I would like to somehow marry those two together and use it to inspire young people to achieve in some way. And I'm not really sure at this stage how I'm going to do that.
So Julie, so Friendly Fridays is not open at the moment, obviously, because we're still in a lockdown, but we are still connected to that community. However, Friendly Fridays would be a perfect place for you to test that out. We have actually helped Pam, would you say it's 2? Is it Ali and who was the other lady that we did the
Artie Kind?
Artie Kind, yeah. So
yeah, I was just about to type that, yeah.
Thank you. Artie Kind was a lady that was very similar to yourself, Julie. She wanted to work with children in an art space. So what she did was she came and spoke to us at Friendly Fridays, and we gave her space to do it. We advertised it for her. She advertised it herself, and she came and worked with the children just to test the theory to see if she could do it and how it might work. She has then since gone on and got a contract working with, I think it's a local council, Pam, is it? Stockport Council, yeah. Doing exactly what she wanted to do, which was art therapy with children. Ali Dickinson, rather than art, is music. And she came and she hasn't quite transitioned to that at the moment. I know she's been doing some work with Simone in the women's group that you run. But she did the same thing. She came and tested it in that environment, and then she's got a proven theory. So we wrote for Artie Kind, particularly, both Pam and I wrote references based on what she'd done, and we kind of mentored her and coached her through how to do it at Friendly Fridays and stuff like that. So I would suggest, Jilly, to you that you spend some time finding groups like ours. You're quite welcome to contact Pam and I, by the way. It's friendlyfridaysuk@gmail.com. And we would more than happy to set that up for you so that you can come and test it out. And then you've got something to start with to prove that you can do it. There's also another group in Romley in Marple called thanks the Cherry Tree Project, which specifically works with younger kids, and that's all ages. And Pam and I both know the lady. She's called Rachel Stevens. She runs it with her husband Nigel. She would be delighted to have you go and do some stuff, and she would do a similar thing. She would write you a reference. So you may have to do a lot of stuff voluntary, smaller things, but that's how a lot of people we've helped have started. Does that help, Jilly?
It does, yeah. Thanks very much, Anna. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else? And it doesn't have to be a community thing. Like if you want to work with dogs or go dog walking or stuff like that, I've got a few connections. Leanne, have you got a question?
Yeah, I've again come from like an arty background, and was looking possibilities of art therapy. But I did a degree like 20 years ago in surface pattern design, textile design. And it's something that I'd like to obviously utilise the work that I'd done in my portfolio, and I'd worked with Simone and the Wave of Change. So it's just trying to pull things together and making that step forward to actually doing it.
So I think unfortunately it's quite hard at the moment, because a lot of the groups and things are not running, right? So, but the ARC, which used to be in Reddish, has moved to
Works, isn't it?
to the Works, Hatworks, and they, I'm sure, would be very interested in what you're talking about. And again, we could set up introduce you and set up a meeting. Again, you could come to Friendly Fridays. We've got adults there if you wanted to just try things out and see how it worked. It's about, so Simone runs Sector 3, but there are lots of other community type groups going on, aren't there, Simone, where people like charities and communities come together, and it's a good idea for you to, if you see them, to get involved and go along. So I know that the Hatworks did a meeting about probably, well, it's got to be more than 12 months ago, isn't it? Because we've been in lockdown for 12 months, probably about 18 months ago, where they brought the art community and business community together to discuss how they could do things about like what you're talking about, Leanne. So it's about,
is that the Curious Minds thing, Anna?
Yeah, that's the Curious Minds thing.
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of, I suppose, from my experience, it's those things of doing things and not being sure whether they'll lead to anything, but being willing just to go and try some different platforms and different places to network. And I think for me, it's like, then I've gone away and thought, how do these dots kind of fit together, and what do I want to do next? And it's been like a real process of figuring it out. It's not just been, I've gone to 2 events and met 2 people and that's kind of it. It's got all the time, and you know what I'm like, always whirring with the ideas. So I think what you're doing, Leanne, about starting to piece together, you've been on the Wave of Change, you've started to make some connections with some local groups. It's just keep adding to that, isn't it? I know we talked about maybe introducing you to Kitsch Republic as well, who are also know Anna and Pam. And it's actually telling people, a big part of the Wave of Change program is we talk to women about vocalizing what they want, and actually when they say out loud, 1, it becomes real to them, but 2, it also lets other people know what you're trying to do, and people want to be helpful. They do want to help you in your journey, and I've found people will say to me, oh, well, we can help you with that, or we can put you in touch with this one. And just by letting people know what you're trying to do or where you're at in terms of your ideas, you might be surprised at the offers of help.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's rarely a direct link, and so people, we have businesses coming to us. We have a couple of businesses that have found out about what we do, and they've brought their whole team down. One of those is a company called Chicey, and it's those connections and talking to people like me and Pam who will be able to say to you, oh, well, actually, I know this person over here. I can do an introduction, maybe go and have a chat with them. It's years of me building up networking connections. So I say years, it's only been since 2016 that Digital Annie's been set up, so it's only 4-ish years. But you just need to make those connections and keep those connections going, but don't be all about selling yourself and your idea, and be interested in what they're doing and if it aligns to your own project. So we've worked with is Emily's thing, is it Pure Innovations, Pam, or is it called something? Yeah, Pure Innovations, and they've run a few events like community things, and Pam runs a community day at St Matthew's Church in Edgeley, obviously again subject to us being out of lockdown, but that's where I've made lots of connections through there, because there's lots of smaller and local charities coming together, and you can spend time talking normally to the people who are running it, because they're the ones that come to it, but equally you have people like Claire Cliff comes to that community day with Home Instead, and because they're really keen to do things inside of the community. So there's lots of different ways of accessing that. Does that help, Leanne?
It does, thank you very much.
Very welcome. Does anybody else have a question about how they might start? No? Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the projects that I've run? Friendly Fridays, for example?
It might be good, Anna, because I suppose in terms of the way to set up things like, I know Friendly Fridays is a community group. I know Rock is a charity. We're a social enterprise. What kind of made you stick to like a community group, and what was your constitution and that side of it that people maybe don't understand?
There's some of the stuff we talked about the other day. Yeah, okay. So Friendly Fridays is actually run on behalf of the Cheadle Heath Community Association, who run Rosewalker, the Rosewalker Community Centre, which is down in Cheadle Heath. So they wanted to utilise their building for more community projects than they were currently doing. So it kind of, because again we were connected, it timed in nicely when we started talking about how we could use the space. Then that's how Friendly Fridays came about. But I think that so Friendly Fridays was set up, we didn't spend ages and ages planning it. We had it's kind of like it's called a lean project or a agile project, where we had the basics of what we wanted to do, we understood it, but we knew that it would change over time anyway, so we just went for it. But we had things like the different skills already in place. So Pam had knowledge and skills around recruiting volunteers and the steps that we needed to take in order to make sure that we were capturing all the kind of details that we needed. I had experience in health and safety, so I was able to do the risk management. I also wanted to make sure that the volunteers were that they learned something by being a volunteer. So there is 9 standards that you can sign up to under a voluntary scheme, which explain what excellent volunteering looks like in terms of leading a group of volunteers. And we went through those and made sure that we were adhering to them. I then made sure that the initial group of volunteers that we had, we explained what Friendly Fridays was, and that it was based on the 5 ways of wellbeing, and we explained what that meant so that everybody understood. And then from that, we asked them to tell us one example of how they would know that Friendly Fridays had been successful. So Pam and I had similar goals in terms of the number of people that came to a session, or actually it was number of people in the year, I think. And Then there were things like 2 people came and met at Friendly Fridays that had been strangers before and then became friends. There were 2 people came and met at Friendly Fridays and then went out and did something together. And that's, so people had that vision already. Then every session, when we get the volunteers together in the morning, we do a briefing. We remind them about the 5 days of the 5 ways of well-being. We set out what we want to do for the day. We give everybody different tasks to do. So there's a safety officer, there's a fire officer, somebody responsible for cleaning the bathroom, somebody responsible for refreshments. The safety officer makes sure that bags are tucked under chairs and stuff like that. So it's very and it's not specific people each week, it changes. So it's a team thing. And then at the end of the session, we do a debriefing. So what went well today? What didn't go well today? Have you got any concerns about anyone? And we also wanted to make sure that the boundaries were really clear. So we are not there to solve people's problems, but we will signpost them to the right organisations, and we only signpost to people that we've got direct dealings with. So we know that if there's a problem, we can go back to them. So people like the Prevention Alliance, the local Samaritans are now connected to us, the local AIDS UK, we've called upon Claire's knowledge a few times and things like that. So for us, it was, whilst Friendly Fridays is not a registered charity, we run it on behalf of a charity, but we've kept it as a community group for that reason. And as we've trained the volunteers, we've stepped them up. So Becca, who I showed you a picture of earlier, originally started as a volunteer, but it was very clear to Pam and I that she was able to take on more responsibility. So we trained her and stepped her up to that level. And now we have the leadership team, senior volunteers, and then volunteers below that. So that's how I think, that's how we've done it. That's how we've set that process up and running. And Claire, because she's our key partner, I suppose, for Friendly Fridays, we have a lot of meetings with Claire on a regular basis, and Home Instead through Claire offer extra training to our volunteers. So there's nutrition and hydration, there's a scams awareness, there's dementia friends. Am I missing anything, Claire? No, I don't think so. But if there was something specific, then, like, you know, that we thought, I think Claire did some mental health awareness stuff as well, actually, for us once, and teaching the volunteer, but this was before COVID, so teaching the volunteers about cleaning their hands by demonstrating it with a black light, which was really good. Infection control and autism friends, yeah, that's the other one. So that's, just build the right people around you. That's my main message. Make the connections, find the right people. If you come across someone and you don't particularly get on with them, my advice is to move on and find somebody else. There are so many community groups and so many community people out there that you're spoilt for choice. And once you start opening that door slightly, there's just a whole world of opportunity out there. It's massive. It's huge.
Yeah, and my advice would be go and check out Friendly Fridays. I love going when I can get chance. I always try and turn up with extra coffee and biscuits.
Yeah, you're very good.
As my little give back, but I just like going. It's such a chill place. I know we've done a couple of digital skills sessions, but I just sometimes will just pop in for a brew and a natter and talk to the knitters, and it's just.
I would say, from the Friendly Friday perspective, whether I'm got my Home Instead hat on or my personal hat on, I always come away with a smile. I always come away feeling I've made a difference. I always come away with some sort of good news story. And I think it's just, you know, you work on the 5 ways to wellbeing around Friendly Fridays, and it absolutely has such an impact on the people that attend. And indeed, well, the other thing that I would say is people by people. And what I would say is keep making those community connections. You know, we are so lucky where we are in Stockport, and Friendly Fridays is a perfect example of that. You know, you go in to chat to one person, you come out having opened doors to so many other people. Yeah. You know, it's just absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you. Claire is our biggest business supporter by far. She always shouts about what we
Because
do.
I truly believe in what you're doing, and I think that is so important. It's not just about being a business, it's about being part of the community of Stockport, and that's what I would say we are very proud to be part of, really. There's no standalone here, you know. There's no I-in team, let's bring it all together.
Bring it all together, yeah. So I think, you know, and I think that's the other thing. Part of the reason why it works so well with Home Instead for us is that they're not just spieling out the fact that they want to be part of the local community, which a lot of businesses do, and they aren't. They're always asking, "How can we help you? What projects are you working on?" and different things like that. So, the very first December, we wanted to do a Christmas Day event. We came up with this idea that some of our visitors would be at home alone on Christmas Day, and whilst we couldn't personally do something on Christmas Day, we could make a Christmas Day at Friendly Fridays. And Claire jumped straight in. Yeah, well, she just offered to cook roast dinner or Christmas dinner for 40 people without batting an eyelid. She just totally bought into the idea. And we had some lovely feedback from the very first one we did. I had one little old lady come up to me and say, I didn't think I was going to celebrate Christmas this year. Breaks my heart.
No.
But it's that impact, and that's the thing that's important to me in PAM, is that we've got hundreds of stories like that, and it's all individual. It's maybe small steps, but it's massive for the people that we're helping, and that's just by opening the doors and being there. So whatever your passion is, whatever it is, just keep working at it, keep chipping away at it. When I started Dig20, I had no idea that I would end up doing something as amazing as Friendly Fridays. I thought that I would spend a lot of my time earning money, and then be able to have the flexibility to go and do a lot of stuff voluntary, and to be able to utilize my digital skills, to be able to help community groups and charities, even just the management skills of, you know, how to formulate a community group, or how to get funding, or how to set up a project, or what direction to take, or what does a model of a community group look like, anything like that. I knew how to take minutes and you know, set up the agendas and you know, all those different things. There were lots of different things that were lacking in skills. So Leanne and Jilly, you might find that you've got other skills that you can bring to the people that the community groups that you're trying to reach, and the areas that you're trying to reach, that you haven't thought about and they haven't tapped into. And sometimes that can lead in to you getting more referrals or getting more interest in what you're doing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And Jilly and I used to work together. We used to do a very similar job. And I think when I kind of moved away from it, I kind of thought all my careersy type stuff was done and that was it. And actually, I'm using that now more than ever, but just in a different setting. And people constantly come and ask me to do things around that, which, you know, that's kind of expanded a line in my business that I wasn't originally anticipating, careers and employability side. So it's kind of, just because something doesn't work always as well in one way, I think it can be shown to you in a different way, and you can kind of take control of what it looks like. So I absolutely agree with that, Anna.
I think everybody wants to go to work and know that they've made a difference in some way, right? They, you know, it doesn't, not mine is community, obviously, and that's the passion, but to be able to finish the day and know that you've done a good job, that was always my drive. And I just didn't get that from the corporate world. You know, I was very much just a number and a cog in the machine. I just didn't get that at all. Setting Dig20 up was the first step to that, because it's the feedback that I got from people that I was helping was amazing. They were just like, "You're fabulous," and I was like, "I'm just doing my job." But it's because it was just me. There wasn't a whole business behind me. It was just me, and I was the one that was making the changes happen for them. So I think if you do work in a business at the moment and you think, "Oh, I don't have the right skill set, or I don't have the right things, I can't go out and turn my passion into a job. Ignore that. It's not true. You can, you just have to chip away at it and try different things. My path wasn't straight to Friendly Fridays. I went off in this direction and off in that direction and tried lots of different things. It was that international charity that I thought, and each step that I did, I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is it. I've sorted it. No. And it wasn't until Friendly Fridays and the very first session that we did, which was a pre-launch, and about 30 people walked through the door, and we heard the feedback from the people that came. That was when I was like, yeah, okay, we've done it. That's what I want to do. That's the difference that I'm making. That's me living my dream.
That's brilliant and super inspiring. I'm just wondering if there's any final questions off anybody before we thank Anna for her time.
Very quick question, if you don't mind. What, obviously with the current situation with COVID, how are you running Friendly Fridays? Are you doing it on Zoom or anything?
No, so we discussed it, and I have a lot of older, so like my 100-year-old lady, I don't even have a laptop, right? So and I didn't want to exclude anyone or make it difficult. And at the time when we first went into lockdown, people just didn't know how to use Zoom, right? And I didn't have the ability to go out to everybody's homes and do it because I was shielding myself. So what we did was we set up the most appropriate method of contact per person that we were that comes to Friendly Friday. So we set up a private group, a Facebook group for all the people that run Facebook. We created a telephone tree list and had some volunteers that would phone different people on a regular basis, and Pam has and I both have different groups of people that we stay in contact with. Pam does a lot of the video call ones and I do a lot of the telephone ones, and then we've just done doorstep deliveries, which Claire has helped us out with as well. Claire delivered fish and chips to some of our ladies and gents, which was lovely, and afternoon tea and apple pies, and homemade apple pies I should say, that Claire's mum made. We've done we did World Book Day the other day, so we had secondhand books, because everybody's got secondhand books. I've been sorting the house out, right? So we wrapped them in brown paper and just put them through everybody's letterbox, and it just had the Friendly Friday sticker on and things like that. We've sent out postcards and cards and things. People just wanted to know that they were remembered. They love Friendly Fridays, so to be able to hear from Friendly Fridays made them feel better. And we then eventually, so we started off with it just being myself, Pam, and the volunteers who were making phone calls to people, but then they naturally started to ask, can you give me David's number, or can you give me Dorothy's number, so that they could talk with each other, which was lovely because everybody was skeptical at first. They didn't want to give out any details apart from to us. And so that's how I think if you were to ask them, I'm not trying to big myself up here, but I think if you were to ask them, they would say that we've stayed in contact with them, and we have thought about them. And Christmas, we did a massive, I think it was, what was it, Pam, in the end, 40 people, 50 people in about 25 homes. So obviously we've got families and people that live together. And we did, we bought the whole Christmas food. So Christmas Day and Boxing Day for one particular family who was going through a very difficult time. And we did specific food deliveries for low-income families or individuals. And then just other people we did a movie box. So you got a DVD and a bag of popcorn and some sweets, just so that you know, it's something else to watch or something else to do. Because we normally run a film day in December. So it's hard. It's been hard. And yes, I would have liked to have got everybody together on Zoom, but it just wasn't practical for the different generations that we had. So that's
what you've done has worked for you, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm going to have to wrap it up because we do have a session straight after this, starting on a different Zoom. So at 1 o'clock, that will be with the lovely Becky Field from Westfield Coaching, and she's talking about how to grow. using the grow model, we're not going to teach you how to plant tulips. So yeah, the rest of the sessions today, we've got a 3 o'clock social action and community connection event with Beth from Pi. 6 p.m. we've got a digital skills hour with our lovely Claire Worthington. 7 o'clock session, bullet journaling is full, unfortunately, but we've also got evening wind down at 8:30 tonight with Boost Yoga. So thank you so much, Anna, really inspirational, great to hear your story. And if anybody wants to be in touch with us, and I can put you in touch with Anna, you can come through our Facebook page, email. So email is thegoodnesscollective@outlook.com. Facebook and Instagram all day today. These videos are going up, plus resources for you to use to celebrate the day, and get in touch with us that way. So thanks everyone for coming, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the day. Do something nice for yourself on top of this. It's an order. Thanks, Anna.
See you later. Bye.